This is dedicated to anyone that's been knocked down but not out. The ones that fell to their knees but rose back up. The ones that scratched and clawed but never let go. The ones willing to admit their faults, move past their failures, and improve every single day. I hope these conversations encourage you to think critically, make you laugh hysterically, inspire you profoundly, and remind you to practice gratitude daily. My name is Iman Huschmand. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to Awesome People.
What's going on, awesome people? This is Iman Huschmand, and I want to start with a word called okairi, which I just came across right now, and it means welcome home. And so for those of you who have watched past episodes of the Awesome People podcast, welcome home. Awesome People was really created to be a space where it can be very casual. It could be very, in Persian, they say the word khodamuni, conversations that are meant to inspire, conversations that are meant to enlighten, conversations that are meant to dig a little deeper than a surface level conversation. It's through those deeper level conversations that we can get to know people's true stories, their challenges, their struggles, their success, their failure, the lessons that they would like to share with the rest of the world. And I'm excited for this new Awesome People 2.0 version, because if you've noticed, well, you haven't noticed yet, but I have my first guest that's going to be in person. I have never done an in-person Awesome People podcast. The podcast was created in the middle of the pandemic, and we all know that it was super virtual at the time. So I was in this studio at Platform in Miami Beach and did all those episodes, but our guests were always on a Zoom somewhere around the world. And when I've been thinking about how I would want Awesome People 2.0 to be, a few months ago, I decided that, you know what, the only way that I'll start Awesome People back again out of the studio is when I can have it in person, because just in the last couple of years, I've just seen so many other great podcasts, so many great video series that you can just tell that when the host and the guest or guests are in person, the dynamic and the caliber of the conversation is just so much more intimate. It's just so much more personal. And my first guest in Awesome People 2.0 here at Platform in Miami Beach is one person that truly believes in the importance of having in-person conversations, because they just hate anything that's digital and virtual. And so considering that this Awesome People podcast and the studio would never have existed without this person's creation of this incredible space and platform, I just felt like the time and the person was perfect to be none other than my amazing and awesome sister, Sogol Afsharjavan. Hi, Sogs.
Hello there. How are you?
Has the champagne kicked in yet? Are you comfortable yet to have this chat?
No, I think I need a couple more sips.
Well, go ahead. Here we go. Let's start with a little salamati.
Salamati. Cheers to you. And thank you for... Hold on.
I got ahead of myself. Sorry.
All cameras on us, right?
I know.
Yeah, first of all, I feel honored to be your first in-person guest, although you did do the podcast for the Huschmand episode, so we did have the pleasure of having our family together, and so this time is different.
That's right. Yeah, so that was the first experience. Mom and our amazing Daija was here, and
he's still here right now.
He's still here, for sure. He's here. You know, we had, when I did the Crown Princess podcast with Reza and Yasami Pahlavi, it was such a beautiful moment to have the three of you here behind as well. So the four of us were together in this podcast studio here at Platform. We're going to get to your story shortly, but since we keep on mentioning platform, maybe a lot of people have heard the word platform. They know that there's something going on in Miami. And so before we go deep into your story, let's just kind of clarify what is Platform, what was the catalyst behind Platform, and almost 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, to when you and Sogol, your daughter, started. Where is it right now, and where is it going? It's a lot of questions, but let's just start with, what is Platform and how did it all begin?
So Platform, it started off with me having the vision of having a platform, a location, a physical location where I could create my vision as far as my design background, and create an interior design studio where I would design it the way I like it to be designed, and something that is in constant transformation by bringing in different talents from all over the world. The very first one was Parsa's art. So my son, so he kind of inspired me to have an artist exhibit here at Platform. But then I also wanted to have everyone else on board this platform. And I feel like I like to create and I like to connect. So these two elements of me go side by side. And being an interior designer, a lifestyle curator for many years, for over 25 years, I really enjoy, first of all, working with design clients and being in their environment, in their home, and curating their lifestyles based on who they are. And at the same time, creating custom interiors for so many years. I've always worked with creative talents because I'm not the cookie cutter kind of a designer. So I like for each space to have its own unique feel, element, atmosphere, whatever you want to call it. And to me, it was important to have a place, a location where we can bring everything under one roof: interior design creations, curations, and doing very specific events where I would invite all kind of different creatives to showcase their work and to invite the right people to those events. So that's how Platform was born. And
why did you choose this particular space? It's located in the South of Fifth neighborhood, so when you were, because you've been back and forth in Miami for like 15 years, you've been living here for about
more than 15 years, 15 over 20 years.
Well,
actually, we were here in the beginning together when you and I, we were both under Sogol Decor, and we traveled here through your contacts, and I designed a hotel condo. So my very first commercial design project here in Miami, here in South of Fifth.
Ocean 5
hotel condo. And we ended up purchasing one of the condos. So it became our investment property, a property for us to use, our families to use. And also I had some clients staying there as well. Throughout the years, I would fly down with them. We would scout the design district, and then they would have a place to stay, which was actually designed by me. So it was an experience that I was trying to present to my clients. And so South of Fifth, even back then, I think it was about 17 years ago when we started this project together. South of Fifth was not the same, but it still, even back then, had its own special characteristic and vibe, which I feel like that vibe has grown to a whole different level now. And
well, how about they go to 2018-19 when you were looking for a space? Because you were talking about it for a long time.
For a long time.
There was another space like on 3rd and maybe Collins or something.
Second and Washington.
Second and Washington that, you thought that was it. You were like, this is the one. I'm going to find investors. Somehow I'm going to make it happen. That one didn't work out. But then this one was kind of fate as well. So what drew you to this space? It's a big compound. Tell people more about like not just Platform.
Yeah, so it is actually it's an interesting story because I feel like, yes, my connection to this neighborhood, which is really a 5x5 block neighborhood in the southernmost part of Miami Beach, and we are only 3 blocks away from the ocean too. And somehow I did manifest something like that too on my daily ocean walks back in the days when I was still living in Washington and Maryland. And it happened very interestingly because I was actually living in a condo across the street from this building, which is an beautiful Art Deco building. which is the main building. And then we have a beautiful magical garden, our bakche, and then the apartments behind the garden. So I was living across the street, literally, and every day from my balcony, I looked over the tallest palm tree in south of Fifth. I really think it is still the tallest, and it just spoke to me every morning. I was kind of talking to this palm tree, and I love palm trees. Also, growing up, like our dad was in Baf, which is an area in Iran that, he used to go there on business trips, and every so often me and mom would accompany him, and we would live at this villa, and which was surrounded by palm trees. So I think, from very child,
Which part of Iran was that?
Baf. Oh, you're asking me a geography question. I think it's north of Tehran, but I may be wrong.
We can always edit it afterwards,
Please do. Dad wouldn't be happy. And I remember he also loved that area because it was very tropical, and he was there with the steel industry. But but the whole area was, I loved it too. And so growing up, I think I grew with palm trees. So this particular one palm tree sticking up.
Is Buff the same place that has a beach? You have this really cute picture of you as like 7, 8 years old with umbrella in hand on the sand. Was that in
That's
Iran?
probably Darya Kanar. I think that's a different area, Shomalia. But Buff, I think we do have a picture with mom. I do, where I'm sitting in front of this one villa. I guess that's where we were staying. I mean, I was very young. I was probably like 5 years old or something. But
so you saw this palm tree at the
day I was talking to this palm tree, believe it or not. I mean, I love plants.
She has a tendency to talk to other things, alive. Well, plants are alive, but chairs and these different things, they all speak to you.
Of course, they all have souls. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to have a heart, but they do have a reason and a specific soul for sure.
Beautiful.
But this palm tree was an interesting one. And then my dear friend Marion, who helped us actually sell the Ocean 5 condo, and then afterwards she was the one who helped us with buying other properties. And when I had my eye on this one property in south of Fifth, where I was looking for an investor for this specific concept that I had in my head for over 15 years, I told her, I said, this property is now sold, so I want you to find me something similar, but also in south of Fifth. I was very, very specific about it. And I said something that I can just lease it. So that other property was sold on my birthday, which was also an interesting sign for me. Yeah. I mean, I was super sad, but then I said, you know what, life goes on. And so that day I told her, you know what, let's just look for another property. Then a few days later, honestly, I think it really happened very fast. First, she was sending me some locations which were on 6th Street, 7th Street, very close to 5th Street. And I kept saying, nope, it has to be 5 below.
The German,
so that,
nine.
I think at some point I did get very annoying to her too. Because she would insist that, Sogol, this is a very beautiful property, great area too. I'm like, nope, I want to be on this side.
You knew that there was a distinguishable difference.
Yeah.
Once you cross 5th Street,
it's feel it. The air changes.
Yeah.
Honestly, the air, I mean, I don't want to sound snobbish or whatever, but it really is very different. Yeah. And I had a feeling that this area would one day really become a very interesting neighborhood in many aspects.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we have some of the top restaurants here, Michelin star, and top chefs are coming here more and more. But so long story short, she finally called me. She said, Sogol, I think I found the right property for you. I said, where is it? And she said, it's 410 Meridian. I said, wait a minute, I live in 360 Meridian. So it must be right, next to me somehow. So while I'm on the phone with her, standing on the balcony, actually, I was having my coffee on the balcony when she called me. I said, okay, let's stay on the phone. I'm going to run down. I'm going to look for 410 Meridian. So she was on the phone with me, and I came and I got to the gate at this property here, and it says no trespassing, which I didn't actually. Some people do because somehow this garden, the magical garden,
we have to put a lock on the
brings people in. And I looked up and I found the palm tree right there in the middle of the garden.
Did you know it was the same one?
I looked up and I said, oh my God, this is the same palm tree I look at every day. And I said, please, make an appointment with the owner. I want to see this property. And I already felt so good about this place. It was strange. I went back, I had like a little butterfly in my heart, and I said, I think this is it. And I looked around. Everything was just so perfect, architectural wise. It's a beautiful Art Deco building. It has some really nice, rich elements, some birds, and it's a very specific building. And so, she made the appointment that same afternoon, and I came with her.
Cristiano made himself available that quickly?
Yes, he did. It was very strange because everything really just happened very fast. I came here with her, and where originally I was just looking for a place for the business, for interior design, and somehow a concept gallery. The main level.
The front of the building.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not a storefront. It's not a retail place, but it is a commercial building. And so we came inside, and I just loved everything about it because it had some modern elements to it, industrial, stainless steel doors. At the same time, the floors are hardwood, very organic, and Art Deco elements, the openings inside platform. And so everything was just really great, to the point that I said, oh, and you have an upstairs. I thought, okay, downstairs is already mine. And I thought, okay, upstairs, what's happening upstairs? And the landlord, Mr. Cristiano, he said, well, there are 2 apartments. We have a studio and an apartment, 1 bedroom. And my office is upstairs, and I have a tenant upstairs. And I said, any chance that the apartment becomes available? And he said, well, could be. He never says no to anything. So, and I said, well, can I take a look at it at some point? And he said, yeah, let me just call the tenant. So he called.
Or Alicia.
And Alicia, she was actually doing her yoga, I think. And so that was a very interesting thing. So we came upstairs, we looked at it, and I literally loved everything. And I said, okay, this is perfect. I said, whenever this becomes available, I'm also interested in the upstairs unit. And plus, the studio. In my head, I always wanted to do an artist residency as well. Because, when the artists come and we feature their work, I kind of wanted to have an artist residency, and it was just perfect because, they could just be accommodated here. And so, yeah, long story short, it took a couple of days, and we were, we agreed, and I was in for it. And I wasn't even, because, the plan was to do this with an investor. So I had a much bigger plan. And then this property really fell into my lap after a short time. And so I feel like, everything really happened super quickly. But since this was my dream, I also didn't want to say no to it, because I knew that I wasn't really super prepared for it, because I was running my interior design business just myself. And I think back then I had 1 assistant. But altogether, it was just a dream come true, where then obviously, Doris called, we talked, and she said, there's no way you can do both together. You want to open up a gallery and you have an interior design business, you need help. And that's when I really realized, yes, I will definitely need some help. And she came down, and she took leave of absence from a landscape architecture company she was working at in Alexandria. And so she came, and so together we really killed it. It was a great experience for both of us. I feel it was definitely, we learned a lot during this process.
I'm sure.
She did in her own ways, and I did in my own ways. And for me, um, I had a great network already here in Miami, and it was, for me, was just strategizing how to do things to make ourselves known here in this neighborhood. And slowly we figured it out.
And so one of the plans was to host a lot of small scale events. That's kind of what you did the first couple of years.
Yeah.
And started bringing artists. Like, what exactly were you doing to kind of make the most out of the space?
So it was more like so my goal was really to help creatives. And because as a creative myself, we tend not to value ourselves usually, or understand, how to promote our work, because we're just too involved with our creative minds. And that is by itself it's a heavy thing to do. And a lot of artists, they have managers always. So not that I was their managers, but I created a space for them to be featured and to have a voice. And I helped them to become visible in the community, and I wanted to create a community too. That was my goal, to create a community with like-minded people, creatives, and so that was the goal. And I started, I had a few artists, or even Parsa's art was one of the artists, the art work that we put on the walls. He actually came, and he was already here, but I just wanted him to do whatever he wants to do with his art. And then slowly other products, everything, like this is a lifestyle concept gallery, because it's everything that I love in my own lifestyle, and the people that I meet that I like their works or their talents or whatever it is. Could be a fashion designer, jewelry designer, a furniture maker, anything that's really a sculptor, anything that really speaks to me. I liked to have it here. And through our curated events, I would invite the right crowd for them. And so it's not a typical gallery. It's not a white wall gallery, I would say. It's more, it's a multifaceted gallery.
So then the pandemic hit, and everything kind of came to a screeching halt.
Mm-hmm.
And you were contemplating even just closing it down, not knowing exactly.
Well, I did. I actually did.
Actually,
yeah. Everything was empty. I almost had the key ready on the table until, we as a family, we were all then here together. And first of all, our parents, they moved here from DC, so it was a big shift in everything possible. And collaboratively, we decided to continue this with what you're good at, with what mom is good at. And so I think that's how everything started, to support what I had created. And obviously we were not able to do the events anymore, so it was hard. In the beginning, it was really hard how to shift and how to make this work. I was luckily very busy during the pandemic with a couple projects, design projects, but at the same time, I also didn't want to lose this whole platform concept either.
So now that we're like in 2024 and, we were going through the waves of the pandemic, how would you explain to people, like, what is platform now and its focus and the things that you're hoping to create and integrate into platform 2.0? Like, I feel like this is awesome people 2.0.
Yeah, it is.
Platform is probably going to 3.0, because I feel like there was original, and then right after the pandemic, and even after the pandemic, together we tried different things, and we're still trying to figure things out, that what is the best way that we can serve the community where it also allows us to thrive, because every business needs to be able to kind of continue to grow and not just stay stagnant. So right now in 2024, what is your vision for platform? What are the type of, let's put it out in the universe, the people, the things, the dream that you have, because you are the one that's leading this whole little adventure that we're on. So tell us more about it. What would you like to see? If it was December 31st, 2024, what would an amazing year at Platform look like to you?
So I feel like in the past 2 years, what we have done, like with what you have done with your business, growing the Persian community through the political movements, you have been very involved, and you have found a lot of Persians in South Florida, that which for me, I have never been really involved with the Persian community, but through you, we grew our network through the Persian community here in South Florida, in Miami area. And mom with her skincare business, she still has her business in Washington where she sees her clients, but even here she had the opportunity to open up her business as a esthetician. And so we have the wellness vault concept of platform, and we have the content creation production house that you bring on board, hence what we're doing here today in this beautiful space where
Professor
it's actually, yes, I know you, and you have your amazing Brandon from DC here. So yeah, this is it's a special room where you can grow your community by doing other podcasts for other people, or interviewing people in your awesome people. And for me, my vision is to really still grow my interior design business. And I love designing. It's really my biggest passion, and it really makes me happy. And I am definitely in my happy place here, in my happy neighborhood. I'm happy to have family around. And so it's a special compound that we all created together. And so yeah, I feel that this transition will help all of us grow more, and we help others grow with us too. So that's the intention of platform, because we believe in collaborations. We believe in specific networking methods. And it's a little hub for everyone. And we want platform to become a home for whoever wants to collaborate and whoever we can help with our resources and network. And it's
almost like two villages coming together, so
yeah,
like we have
several villages kind of.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like that's how we can kind of become stronger and share
Like
these
group
resources.
communities, yeah. And
so so platform and events, and you've done at this point probably over 150 events here at Platform. So events and building a community locally, and promoting creative, connecting creative. I mean, you're a master connector, like I feel like I'm more of the community builder, but you are the connector, like I don't have the same. I feel like every time you meet somebody, you're already going to a Rolodex, and you're like,
I was just going to say, I mean, sometimes I try not to, because I feel like, okay, let me just focus on this conversation. But somehow, again, I guess it's the artist in my brain, we're like always looking for things that spark, and then we take it to a different direction.
Yeah.
It's I don't know how to explain it, but
Well, I don't think you should fight it. I feel like that's a superpower that you have. Like, I feel like if you try to kind of like restrain yourself, you're taking advantage. You're limiting your major strength. Where they always say your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
And so the more that you are constantly connecting people with other people, they're going to look at you as the ultimate connector. So
Yeah.
they're going to come to you, they're going to think of you, and
Actually, so yesterday I attended a very, very nice networking event at the regatta in Coconut Grove. So it's the European chambers, the German, Spanish, and Italian chambers. They collaboratively had a business networking event. It was beautiful. I think more than 200 people attended, and I came back with a stack of business cards. But every single one of them really they mean to me already, because I can already feel and see something happening with those connections.
yeah,
And
it's like a puzzle that you put together.
it is a puzzle. But before going there, I was thinking, okay, I already have maxed out. I'm sorry. Sorry.
It must be. Is it the blueberry?
I don't know. Yeah, I thought, why am I actually going to more networking events? Because at some point you feel like you have already capped your capacity of having a lot of people in your network.
Yeah.
And in my head, it's even more overwhelming, because sometimes I think of people and I'm like, oh, wow, it's been such a long time. And yesterday was so great because I actually ran into some people that I hadn't seen since COVID, like, before COVID, even like 5-6 years ago. And I missed that, and it felt so good. And I thought, okay, maybe this is good to go to networking events outside platform. That's the other thing, because, for so many years, I've been doing all the networking events here. And so it's limiting me to the people that I invite, and then they bring people with them, right? Instead of just going into a bigger space and meet a lot of new people. So it was a very strange experience yesterday, and I really, really enjoyed it. But it's sometimes overwhelming.
I was going to say, like, I cannot think of many people that connect with so many new people all the time, and like, I feel like you're kind of realizing that, okay, I have actually a big community. Now let me focus on actually getting to know them, or really touching base with them and seeing where they are and see how you can work together and stuff. Because a lot of people would love to have 100th of your community. And some people, they do have 100th of your community, but I feel like they nurture that 100th in a different way,
Yeah. I mean, nurturing is important. Like I try to nurture the community a lot. And that's why, in platform point 2, point 3, and you made that other dream of mine come true also with the Barefoot in the Garden event. You remember when you said, what is your, I can't forget the
ideal.
Yeah, you're like, what is your actual ideal event at platform? And for a few seconds, I'm like, what does he mean by that? And then I quickly just was imagining, like, what is the vibe that I like for that event? And I realized for my typical events that I have had here, like you said, over 150 events we've done, including very, very big Art Basel events with 400 or 500 people coming, going for a few days. I realized I enjoy my own events a lot, and I enjoy watching people enjoying themselves and connecting with new people. That really brings joy to me. When I see, people are really, something is happening there, and it's a good feeling. But then at the same time, I don't really have enough time to enjoy my conversations during my own events. Because I'm all over the place, I'm making sure that everyone is fine.
You're being a great host.
Yeah, I'm being a host, exactly, and I love doing that. I'm not saying I don't like doing that, but my the event that I would love to do is a Barefoot in the Garden, where I have a limited number of people here. And it feels more like, inviting my friends. And in most cases, those are my friends actually too.
It's either your colleagues or your collaborators or new people that you've met that you're interested in becoming friends with.
Exactly. So, and I like the opportunity to actually sit down with them over a casual dinner, conversation, drinks in our magical garden. And those type of gatherings, you remember them much longer. Like you actually go back, you're like, oh, that night, you remember it better than, a bigger event, like, because you don't know how many people you said hello to. And this one is more specific. And then the conversations become more meaningful too. So that's the focus on our Barefoot in the Garden, which we're trying to keep it at around 20 people max. But since we do like to do this often, because all of that really helps growing the community and also create more awareness of what we are all doing collaboratively, not just for me, not for you, not for mom. It's for whoever comes here.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they do change what they're doing. Like even yesterday when I met some of the people that I knew from the past, they're now doing other things. They're with new companies and they became entrepreneurs, especially during COVID. A lot of people have become entrepreneurs. And as an entrepreneur, you need more eyes on you. You need more. And that's where you come into the picture with your specialties as far as producing beautiful brand story films and the content creation and everything that you were chewing my brain for during COVID.
So speaking of Barefoot in the Garden, the first one that we did was last September.
The launch.
And then this place holds about 100 people inside, outside, cocktail style. Reluctantly you went over that 20, 30 people because we were just trying to make financial sense,
Well, that was also the launch. So we wanted people to see what we are capable of doing.
That's right. But then we were like, you know what, for future ones, we definitely want to make it more intimate. Again, you love the more intimate elements. So on February 19th, for example, that one is going to be max 20, 30 people.
20
people. Well, I mean, you're the one who all of a sudden is like, oh, 5 more. But what do you hope for people to take away when they come to these Barefoot Gardens, which we're going to be doing every month? We do believe we all are aligned. For what would you like them to walk away?
The intention again is always the same intention, to see who is working on what projects, how we can help each other, or maybe I can't, but maybe I know of someone else who can. This is only it only happens when you're in a enclosed, like a more intimate environment where people are comfortable sharing, and we try to do family style Persian food, so something different for our non-Persian community here. And it's really bringing cultures together, bringing creatives together, bringing, I always say, if you play an instrument that you can actually carry with you, bring it, or if there's a poetry that you want to share or something. I mean, it's really things that we all love to do. It's because one thing that I mentioned to you, and you were kind of hesitant about it in the beginning, but I think for the next Barefoot, I do want to kind of confiscate the telephones, the cell phones also.
I actually love the idea. I just think that you should tell them in advance if you're going to do that. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's the only thing, is you don't want to catch people off guard. But I think that's amazing. I think actually that'd be a huge draw.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm extremely connected to my phone. I'm the first to admit it. It's absolutely horrible. I'm sure I could do without it, but I've never had to been forced to do it. But if I know, I would actually just want to do it for the sake of trying.
Right. And I feel like, that's the only time, like 2-3 hours where we can actually enjoy each other, without looking at the screen and without getting distracted. Right now, I feel like the worst thing for me is the distraction of my phone. Like, I go in specifically very focused to go send an email out, and then all of a sudden a WhatsApp text comes in, or an Instagram, whatever, and then 5 minutes later, I feel like, okay, I got so sidetracked, and I didn't even I don't even remember why I picked up my phone. And the phones are really glued into our palms, and that's not good.
Well, it's sensory overload, and
Yeah.
these apps are created to keep you on their platform.
I
So
know.
all of them are fighting for your attention.
I know, but what better than this platform where you come in, you enjoy,
Real life
real
conversations.
life conversations, just the way we had it. I actually think like I may include like a board game or tachte,
Yeah.
backgammon or something interactive, or have people paint and
Breath work.
breath
I
work,
feel like it
anything.
needs to be anti everything that is consuming our minds.
Actually, somebody mentioned,
Yeah, we're gonna have Palmira do it. I'll have her do it.
oh, perfect.
I mean, there's a lot of great people that can do
Yeah, I
things,
would love
but
that.
I feel like I will talk to her about
Because I feel like, everyone needs that little 5-minute session before engaging into really creative conversations.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great.
Me and Brandon actually we met I think Nora's boyfriend, like through Rana's friend.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
We just met him like 5 minutes, and
Oh,
we're
you
like,
did?
oh yeah, we missed you last night at Salamati at Rima.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'm so sorry, but I'm in this thing that I started 3 months ago where I go to yoga, and I need that.
Good.
I need that, and like
We
it's
all
the
need
one
that.
thing that I need to just kind of like do the recalibration and reset. And he has found that to be his source of disconnecting,
I
and
know,
he will not compromise that for anything, you
Good
know.
for him.
And we're like respect. That's great. I was like, hey, that's a good excuse for not coming to my event, you know.
Yeah, and one of my friends who I also just met during the last, little gathering we had, and she brought a friend because she saw what we are doing here. She's a fashion designer. She's a shoe designer, and she brought a friend who does yoga retreats and the different spiritual and um, meditation retreats, and he loved it here too, especially the garden. And I'm thinking, if we keep the group, the number of guests at a smaller number, we can even start by meeting up at the beach. I mean, we are lucky enough to have the beach in our backyard almost, and we can always just meet up there, do our 5-minute meditation. And that's when we say, okay, when we go back to platform, here's a basket. We're going to keep our phones in there. And if there is obviously an emergency or something, obviously, you go pick it up. But I think that would be something very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we talked about platform. We talked about barefoot in the garden, and platform, and bringing the community together, and curating events and connections. That is definitely one passion of yours. The other main passion is the interior design part.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into the world of interior design in the first place.
Wow. That goes way back. Well, the passion for it came, I think, growing up. I've just been around a lot of beautiful elements thanks to mom and dad. And, they used to build their houses through our grandfather, who was a builder and architect. And so it was a thing that I grew up with. And
In Iran.
in Iran, and mom and dad traveling to Europe to buy their furniture or customizing furniture. I remember even, we went to Spain where they purchased beautiful furniture, which they just arrived, I think, right before the revolution. So we didn't really get to enjoy them for too long, but it was still nice to have them. And but then even in Tehran, I remember there was an Armenian carpenter, a very famous one, that mom had designed her bed, and I remember as a young kid, I was probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6, 7 years old. I remember I was even interested in like touching the royal blue velvet material for their beds, and the tufted design and all of that. So it was all the details that really spoke to me. Seeing them building our houses and living there. And so we had, we had all that around us. And then in Germany, where I lived for 10 years, grew up there.
From like 9 to the
From
17,
9 to
like
19, yeah, when I finished high school there, and then I came to the US. But growing up in Europe showed a different aspect of design and culture. And I feel like, design is not just furniture. There's a lot more to it. Well, going back to that part, actually, because I was a linguist, which to me is another art. Languages are art. Because for every language you know the culture of that country, the food, the music, the architecture, the history, everything. Like, history is so important. And then I eventually got into interior design just for fun, honestly, because I was.
You mean after you got married?
Yeah.
Okay,
in
but
college.
before I get there, I want to ask a question. So it seems like, you have a lot of memories in Iran, in the 70s, architecture, the little thing you're touching. Did anything change when you got to Germany? Now you're 9 years old. I mean, it's 1979, it was 1980. I wasn't born yet. Well, actually, I was just being born. So the world changed for sure for Iranians, for sure
Right.
for mom and dad. And you as a 8, 9-year-old, I'm sure in some capacity it changed. How did that influence you and your love for design? Did it like pause during Europe, or did it grow during Europe? Like, how did that change?
It didn't pause at all. I feel like, if anything, it just grew and grew because, our parents loved to travel. So having lived in Germany, we would go on a lot of road trips. So I remember like that whole experience really added to my knowledge and to, the whole art infusion, I think. And
So I remember Paris as a little kid. I remember going to Austria.
yeah, Paris,
Where else did you guys go?
Italy, Spain, my gosh, so many countries.
Everything is so close by over there. So
I know
it's like,
everything. It was actually, yeah, even though back then, we had the issue with having a visa. Now, Europe,
one passport.
it's one passport, which makes everything. I was actually sad because the second I came to America, that's when everything happened. I'm like, oh, now that I'm here, everything, there's no border anymore in Europe. So, but yeah, I mean, it just kept growing and growing. And back then, I was actually a linguist. I studied languages, speaking 7 languages. So it was definitely a time where my creative mind was just growing with us traveling a lot and learning more about different cultures and textiles and, architecture, tiles and everything, all these little details.
Do you remember like during your before marriage, because and we'll get to that in a second, you got married pretty young, definitely comparatively speaking. Do you remember like between 10 and like 18, did you ever say to yourself, I want to do this when I grow up. I want to be this, like I want to be that. And if so, what were like the first couple things that you were like, I want to be this?
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely loved traveling. That's what our parents taught me. So I wanted to become and I loved languages.
You're gonna be a tour guide?
Growing up in Iran, I actually went to the British kindergarten, Ashraf Pahlavi, and then I went to American school, Rostam Abadian, and then Iran Zamin International School. So and then a 3 months period of boarding school in Bristol. So all of that really contributed to me learning more about languages, which really was fascinating to me. And so I did that, but now I lost my thread. Where was I going to
Well, like basically what you were like aspiring to be, like the travels, they made you want to do what?
And then I wanted to become a flight attendant because
No way.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Okay.
This is why I wanted to have the conversation.
So yeah, I mean, I loved traveling and I loved languages, and I just loved and flight attendants back in the days. You really needed to really look great, and it's still the same, honestly. But something about flight attendants always
Yeah.
was, it was fun for me. I loved talking to them. Especially, I remember when when our parents sent me off to Bristol to go to boarding school. At the airport, they just handed me off to, and I was 6 years old. I looked like a little tomboy with short haircut, Wushi style, and with a backpack. So I remember, just holding this flight attendant's hand, and I looked up to her, and her hat and her entire,
It was so chic.
and the high heels, even, like, it was really cool. And then the pilots and the whole environment was really interesting, and I loved airports. Even to date, I actually don't get upset or mad when the flight gets canceled, because I don't mind spending time at airports.
Yeah, there's a limit, but yeah, a few hours,
Yeah, of course
okay.
there's a limit. Yeah, you don't want to live there for
You
2
don't want to
days.
be overnight in Beijing.
Oh, we have that experience
Exactly.
too.
So
But
when did that change to something else? Like, what else caught your eye?
to become a designer,
No, like in general. So, okay, so you had this thing about being a flight attendant, a
Yeah.
stewardess, as they call it back then.
yeah.
And then what else?
So students, Daddy wasn't really too fond of that idea, and so he quickly changed my mind about becoming a flight attendant. And I
What did he,
listened.
what issue did he have? Because he never usually turned down anything.
I know. He said, "Do you really want to wait on people?" I mean, I have respect for all flight attendants, obviously, but he said it's like, being a waitress in the sky.
Yeah.
Which obviously it's more than that, but when that was one of the things that I guess he really didn't want me to do it. I don't know why. I wish I could ask him
He
why.
just wanted you close by. He didn't want you to be flying all around the world too much.
Probably, yeah. He said, for a woman, for a lady, you don't want to be traveling all the time. You want to eventually have a family and have your kids, and which is true. I mean, being a flight, I mean, our own cousin is a pilot for Lufthansa, and his wife was a flight attendant. That's how they met.
Yeah.
And they have 2 lovely sons. One of them is also a pilot now too. And
Wild.
yeah, and his wife eventually, obviously, when they got married, she wanted to stay home because it was difficult to fly and raise a family. But so yeah, Daddy was definitely right, I think. And I thought, okay, the other thing, obviously, languages fascinated me too. And I wanted to become a interpreter for the UN. So that was my other second,
Dolmetscher.
Dolmetscherin, yeah, and Übersetzerin.
You did that for a while.
I did that for, yeah. What
Did you like that?
I loved it, yeah. So that was what I actually studied in college. Well, I was actually supposed to go to Heidelberg and study that, but then I came here and I never went back to Germany. But here at the University of Maryland,
Terps.
Terps, yeah. I studied German literature and French. And eventually I was teaching at Berlitz. I was teaching adult night classes for people.
Teaching them what?
Teaching them German and French.
Okay.
In DC. So
How did you like that?
I loved it. It was great. I was teaching night classes because back then I had Dorsa and Parsa. I had the kids. So the only time I could leave the kids with Kurush, and then I would teach night classes in Rockville. So it was nice. And I was working with a professor at American University. He was a German professor, much older, who was writing a book, but he had left Germany many, many years ago. So him and his wife, actually, they were not even able to speak German as well. So my German was actually much, much better than his. And I was doing a transcript of his voice notes. I mean, he would talk into a tape.
I remember when you used to do that.
Yeah, that was very difficult because he was writing his own memoir. Leaving Germany as a teenager and immigrating to America. It was very interesting. Beautiful family, husband and wife, no kids. So that was a fun thing to do for me, and it was nice. And then I was translating for the Jewish community. What was it called? JSS?
JCC.
JCC, yeah, Jewish Social Service Agency.
Oh.
And yeah, that was different. So I was translating for Persians who came to America, and they were, I needed to translate their documents from like German to English or French. Some of them were from France, actually, who lived in France before they came to America. And yeah, so that was, I really enjoyed it. I love working with people in general, and interior design is another thing that really fascinates me. I meet new people, new friends. They all become my friends eventually.
You go into their home, which is the most sacred place,
I was just going to say, yeah, as a designer, you really, especially, if you're working with a couple, you know more about them than the couples know about them.
You become their de facto therapist at times, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, you become really part of their lives, and I love it. I really, really enjoy it. And
so tell us about the journey. So you the first experience was Ethan Allen.
Oh yeah,
right. So when you had 2 kids, and you were like, just first of all, I think your first project was your own first home when you got married, and that was like at the age of like 21, 22, right? So you essentially
20, yeah.
You decorated an entire 3-level townhome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was my little dollhouse, really. Even though back then at age 20, it didn't look like a small dollhouse. Now I look back and it looks like a dollhouse to me. But I really had a lot of fun with it, and Kurosh really gave me the freedom of doing whatever I wanted to do. I mean, it was one of his investment properties, and he had tenants in that house, and we decided that we would take the house. And I mean, when he showed the house to me the first day and there were still the tenants inside the house, I'm like, oh gosh, this place needs a lot of work. I don't think I can live in this house.
That's where you put the black carpet, the white couches, the purple accents. That's what I remember. I was 10 years old.
Carpet. It was a purple carpet.
Okay, actually, it was purple carpet.
It was my purple and white house.
Yeah.
Literally,
I thought it was
this house.
I was about to say purple carpet, but I was like, no, I think I'm mistaken. It was purple.
I remember going to our uncle's rag store, and I was looking for an actual lavender color carpet, and like wall to wall. That's when wall to walls were still fashion. And we're talking how many years ago, 30-some years ago. And he said, are you sure you want lavender carpet? I said, I'm pretty sure I do want that. And so yeah, everything in this house was, and I couldn't even back then, colors were not really used for interior spaces like that.
Especially in the DC area.
Yeah, exactly. Like our house was definitely nothing normal.
Yeah.
It was very kind of futuristic in a way too, because I designed some of our furniture pieces, which was a combination of ocean elements. With those tables, which were shelves with glass top, which was very unique back then, because I always loved the ocean. And
you're kidding.
Here we are in Miami Beach. But then, the other cabinet, TV cabinet, the buffet, and everything I designed. And it was fun working with the carpenter who actually we ran into the on our last don't I don't remember this, but we ran into them at the Persian restaurant, and it was nice.
So first, tell us about Ethan Allen. So that was like a little practice project. You thought it was just a hobby. How did you stumble upon working at Ethan Allen?
Ethan Allen, that was also through another very dear friend of mine, Mojjan. And so we I just decided being home with the kids, I was still doing my languages, I was teaching, but something in my head was not enough. I love fashion design. I always loved interior design too. And because at some point I wanted to go to Parsons too. Like, my head was all over the place between flight attendants, you know, UN translator and then fashion. And so at some point I thought, okay, while I'm home with the kids, let me just do something else. And I just started with a School of Interior Design in Atlanta. And back then we didn't have online anything. I don't even think if we had a computer. Well, we did. I wasn't really using it that much. And so, yeah, I just took this. I mean, I signed up for it, and every 2 weeks they would send me a project in the mail. Actual mailman would deliver this packet for me, and I was always excited, flipping through the binder. It was a big binder, and looking at the projects. They would give you like an imaginary project. Like,
It's kind of cool, actually.
I had so much fun with it. Yeah. I didn't really look at it as something that will become my career or something. Like, I literally was just having fun with it, outside, having 2 kids and playing with them all the time and doing whatever I needed to do as a mother, as a wife. And, I love entertaining. So I love cooking, baking, all of that I really enjoy doing. But at some point, I don't even know how I came across this school, because I knew I needed to do something that I can just do at home. And I found it, we did it, and it was a 2-year program, which I finished in, I think, less than a year even, because I just was always curious about the projects. I would quickly finish them and send it back to Atlanta and get
So you
graded.
get like an interior design certificate from this? Is that what the degree was?
Yeah, it was an interior design certificate.
So cool.
Yeah, I didn't really care about who they're affiliated with, honestly.
Yeah.
For me, it was just something fun. It was an art project. Let's
Yeah.
look at it as an art project. And I had my coloring pencils, and I can, I did things. So once I got it, and I got super excited, and I picked up the phone and I said, my certificate just came into the mail. And she said, oh, really? She said, today, actually, in Washington Post, there is an ad. They're looking for an interior designer at Ethan Allen. I'm like, what is Ethan Allen? I didn't even know what Ethan Allen was. And she said, oh, it's a furniture store. It's on Connecticut Avenue. Maybe it's not a bad idea for you to go and do the interview. I said, no, I really don't want to work for someone. I'm fine at home. And she insisted, honestly. And she said, why don't you just go for an interview? That doesn't mean that they're going to hire you. Just go in. And all right, okay, I'll go. And I don't even think I even told Kurosh about it. I just, walked into the store, showroom. And it was interesting because the manager was Persian. So his name was Corey. I remember his name.
That's very Persian.
No, but yeah. So we had an interview, and on the spot he hired me, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I don't even think I want to work. Like, I really didn't know what to do. So I came home, and that night at dinner, I kind of had to bring it up to Kurosh, like, oh, this thing happened, and he actually wants me to start on Monday. And somehow we made it happen. And but after like a year or so, I realized, it was hard. Kids were young, and the retail aspect of it was, I learned a lot. Not the business side, unfortunately, but I met some really cool clients, DC clients, and they followed me, honestly. It felt uncomfortable because I didn't steal them. No, I even told Corey, I told the manager, I said, listen, they want me to finish their project, but I promise you, I'm going to bring them back to Ethan Allen, and we're going to buy as many Ethan Allen pieces as possible. And I did that, honestly. And so they became the base of my own design company. Like, that's when I actually had to start designing my business cards and, the stationery. And I had some things in my head, But everything really happened super organically, like without knowledge. I had no knowledge about anything. I just knew I liked design, I like people, and I already had the clients. Honestly, that was the thing. Like, I didn't even have to go look for a client because there were specific clients that I already had them. And and then I had to start, I didn't even know what the design center was, in DC. So I started going to the showrooms. I created my own network slowly, where I even started doing like home staging, like for realtors. I did staging where I would go to specific showrooms and borrow their pieces. And yeah, so that's how everything started.
So then tell me, like, so that was like back in the very beginning of your interior design career. Give us like, what was the next step and the next step and what led for you to have like these show houses, including Chevy Chase and then Potomac, which then
Yeah,
it comes full circle where it ended up here with the platform.
exactly. So again, like, my creative brain was really running nonstop. And it was just, I guess, not enough for me to design my own house because eventually, when Dorsa was born, we were still in our previous white and purple townhouse. And then we built, well, this house was being built, but then I came into the picture at the right time to kind of really change a lot of things around. And I was lucky because, Kurush also has a great creative mind and great taste. And so we, together, we really changed a lot of things in that house.
When you guys bought it, didn't you guys build it from scratch together, or you guys bought it as it was already beginning and you guys made adjustments?
They had, I guess it was just the studs, the wooden studs, and we kind of, they wanted to. The builder was building 2 houses on our street because there were only 4 houses, 2 very old ones which are still there, and then 2 that the builder built. One was a lot bigger, and we knew that we didn't need that big of a house. Plus, this second one, we loved it, or I loved it even more because I thought we can actually one day build a pool, a swimming pool too, because it had enough land to build a swimming pool, which today actually Dorsa could do that because that's what she specializes in.
Yeah.
As a landscape architect. And yeah, so this house became another project for me, and I really had a great time with it. And then eventually, after, the way I designed this house was already very fashion forward for that time. It was very European and also very tropical, because I remember the first time I spoke to the contractor and I presented all the colors. I opened the color wheel and I told him, this is the color I want on this wall and this on that wall. And I think we had altogether about 15 different colors. It's a contractor's painter's nightmare.
Yeah.
And
Pastel color.
pastel colors. And it was super, super not Washington White House. And but it was nice. It still looks great, I think, after so many years.
Oh.
We did renovate it once after, I think, 10 years, which, again, it was still something more different, more custom, everything.
And then what Chevy Chase house became like a show.
Yeah, so besides interior design, again, my love for fashion and products and everything design related went beyond just doing interior design for my specific clients. Whoever, I met like a fashion designer, and then I loved connecting them, like I said, I like to create and connect. So the create and connection part is really the base of everything I'm doing here. Throughout the years in Maryland, I used to do that time. It was very difficult for me to find locations where I could do trunk shows for these people, and which had nothing to do with interior design, but it had definitely to do with being creative and connecting people. So I did, and I wanted to also always work with charitable organization, like charity organization. So there was so many different things that I did throughout the years. I can't even think about all these things that I did. I need to one day put them all on paper and see all the different things I did. I remember there was this art gallery somewhere in DC where I did a trunk show for products that I had actually sourced through traveling, like all one-of-a-kind pieces, from clothing to jewelry to purses, like a lot of things. It's like, my brain doesn't go that far back, but I just have like very slight memory of it. Yeah. And then I wanted to open up. Then I realized, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to do interior design, but at the same time, I like to feature other talents. And we were looking for a house, and then eventually, our parents' house in Chevy Chase, which was also their investment property, and they had tenants. One day they said, why don't you just take this house in Chevy Chase and do whatever your vision is? And that's how I started that concept, the first concept house, and featuring different brands from Italy. Now I went to Verona, met Fendi Casa, and everything started with Fendi, and seeing what else would go with Fendi. The kitchen brand was a complementary brand, Veneta Cucina, and that's when you and I, started working together. We traveled to Europe. We were invited by the kitchen company because my goal was to sell it to developers and besides just individual clients. And so we were there in training for 10 days. And eventually, everything came under one roof. And, I designed the railing, then the fireplace, some shelves, and a lot of things.
So then you kind of decided to do another one of these in Potomac. That one was called
Das Haus.
Das Haus.
Das Haus, yeah. The German thing is always with me in one shape or the other. Yeah. So even the logo was an actual, like a ordinary house with a blue door because, the door was a turquoise door. And that was in collaboration with another lady who was representing a fashion brand from Spain, who was based in London, so Gomez Gracia. And so she was selling her collection at that house, and I met her when she had pretty much just one living room of that house. And when I saw it, I said, let's collaborate. Then we can kind of bring in interior design, fashion, accessories, art. So that concept house was the second one in Potomac by the village on River Road.
And then came platform.
And then, I was still not satisfied. I mean, my dream was always to really live in Miami. I loved the diversity, the international diversity of people here, and the art world, which is growing and growing. When I really came to Miami like 18, 19 years ago, I really sensed something about this city that I was connected to it so much, and I just could not detach myself. I mean, I was coming down very often, also sourcing for my design projects in DC, or coming down with my clients, taking them to the design district and sourcing furniture, art, accessories, and enjoying the Miami vibe. And so that was, and even back then, I looked at so many different properties that, nowadays, when I go back to those neighborhoods and I see what's happening in this city is insane. I mean, it happens in every city, but in Miami in particular, the prices have gone up like drastically. But all those neighborhoods that I used to look at as an opportunity are now some amazing neighborhoods But luckily, we are in one of them, actually.
Yeah.
We're in one of them. And yeah, so we are now here at Platform, where, it was a whole journey from leaving Iran at age 9, growing up in Germany and then DC. But I feel like I don't look back, I don't regret anything about it. I am so happy I went through this journey. I'm happy for myself and hopefully for people around me, my family. And I feel, this is the beauty of life. It's in constant change and transformation. But what's really important is to really love what you do every day and love where you live. That's really the most important thing that I feel it's something that I have created for myself and
those around you.
those around me, hopefully. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful for being in Miami. It's a world-class city.
Yeah, you were very
Washington.
very much in love with Washington for a good reason, because you came to Washington at age 10. So the way I feel about Germany and Europe, I feel like you had that feeling with Washington. Unfortunately, I wasn't too much part of your life growing up in Washington, because I was already married and I had my own life and lifestyle, and you have your own story. So I can't wait to interview you on my platform podcast.
Platform on the go.
Because I'm sure there are things that I will actually find out about you, and I think it's a beautiful journey that everyone has. It's not just me or you, and it's nice to understand who goes through what.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn about other people's stories. One question that I definitely want to ask you is, what type of advice do you have for other people that are looking to go into the world of interior design? You now have more than a quarter century of experience in this. What would you like to share?
Okay, if I were to open up a design company, a legit design company, I would definitely, first of all, it goes back to studying. What would be very helpful is, well, as a designer, one thing is for sure that, you really have to have that sense of design within you. Like it's definitely an innate thing. I don't think you can really learn design. Or how do I explain it? Like I work with all senses, so that's very important. And the Zen, a Zen environment is nothing new. It's an old Zen is an old thing, going back to history. It's all the elements and all the senses that are involved in our lives that really contributes to our living environment. And that's what I help my clients with, to make sure that there is a balance of all of the elements. Because if there is something imbalanced, that's when a space becomes a space and it doesn't become an atmosphere. You have to create an atmosphere wherever it is. If it's a commercial project or if it's a residential project, a room needs an atmosphere, and it's a lot of different elements that needs to link in the right way. And that sense is something that you really need to have it in you to create it. So beside that, I feel like, knowing business, how to run a business, is because interior design is a legit business. It's not just an artistic
Trophy.
hobby. Exactly. Even though, whoever you say, I'm an interior designer, the first reaction is, oh, how fun. That's like really the very first thing people say. Oh, how fun, how beautiful, which it is. It's very fun and beautiful, but people don't see the backside of interior design. There is a lot of business involved, and there's a lot of structure, organization. That's like the most important thing, especially when you're doing creative things. You're dealing with a lot of loose elements that you need to bring in together. And that's in a space, but then all of that translates into paperwork that also needs to be super organized for clarification, for avoiding miscommunication. It's all
a lot of documentation.
It's all conversation. It's conversation within items. When we said earlier that I see a soul in everything, it's really the conversation between my soul and the items that I put for my clients. And so there is a conversation behind the scenes also. Because if you don't have that, then things go wrong, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah, and then also just the ordering, the follow-up, the working with different contractors. I feel like everybody who's ever done anything with the contractor has a horror story, and you all are constantly working with.
Yeah, but I also don't want to. I have a lot of respect for contractors and architects. I mean, whoever is in the industry that we are working with, our collaborators. We all have our own system. The contractors, after so many years working with so many of them, I feel like we also have to, as a designer, I also try to team up with them because I feel like with everything, we have to create a relationship. And if I have the right relationship with my general contractor or with the architect, everything translates much smoother. And that's only if you team up with them. For me, it's at the same time I team up with my clients. I look at their projects as if it's my own project, like literally as if it's my own project. Like I wouldn't do certain things in a different way just because. I would do it if it makes sense, if it was my own project. And so that whole thing, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, there's a lot involved with interior design. It's literally not just picking out a piece of furniture. There's a lot of, the journey is long. And what I enjoy the best right now, which is something that I love to, or I have been doing for my clients, is to take them to the sources, to take them to see how is this furniture made and what is the process, because then first of all, it's an experience for them. It's a journey that they will remember, and it will be a more meaningful process for them rather than going to a showroom and buying a piece of furniture. I feel like whatever comes into our homes, it has to have a story. It has to have a meaning. It's something that it's in our home. It's in our sanctuary, and it's important. So that whole experience and knowing what goes behind it is very it's important.
And it's also a great way to remember loved ones in the past, like when you go home, the family heirlooms, like things that have been passed down, pictures, videos.
My favorite projects are projects that are already existing. When I go to someone's home, and I can work on any design, any project, empty house or whatever it is. But when I say favorite, is because I love to connect with the past. I love to connect with the history. And I always tell my clients, it's easier for me to just go to a showroom or come to your house and say, okay, we got to get rid of everything and let's just start fresh. It's super easy. I mean, I can do that, and in 2 days, I can actually furnish a place for a client.
You've done turnkey.
I have, and I do turnkeys. Yes, exactly. And that's why my turnkey projects are super easy. Sometimes, I don't even know how, but it's just so easy to do it. But I like the process of taking a piece of whatever it is, a furniture, an art piece, or giving it a different personality because of the whole transition that we're working on. Like a lot of times, again, if you're working with partners, 2 people, 3 people, whatever it is, and they say, oh, he hates this piece and I love it. Or, that's always a great conversation for me. Like, I go in for design conversation, and I just enjoy that, because at the same time, when they say he hates this and I love it, then I want to know the background of it. What is it that you love it, and what is it that he hates it? And then I come into the picture as a designer, because once I'm in someone's space, I can already see the space done. Like, I already have my vision of what are the elements that I actually need to change, keep, alter, or, change the location. So all of that goes into my head very quickly. But I just enjoy listening to those, the stories and conversations.
What do you love the most about interior design?
Wow. What do I love the most about interior design? Well, again, I love the whole transition, the change that I can create, my first vision, and how my vision can actually become reality. And ultimately, if I'm working with clients, the end result, and see my clients being happy about the end result, and being surprised a lot of times, because a lot of times most clients, they don't have a vision. Like when I explain, and so when you said what is your advice? So definitely learn how to draw.
Okay.
And nowadays, obviously, now with AI, I guess things can become a lot more easier. Honestly, I may actually look into that more now with the AI, because it's just saying what you want and then it will do it for you, in most cases. But I just love, the seeing what it was before and what I have created.
The before and after,
Yeah.
The whole, you created that whole thing.
Yeah.
What is the most frustrating part of interior design?
Oh, for me?
That,
Should I say it out loud?
is it me?
The paperwork.
Yeah.
The paperwork, the back office of it,
Have you thought about scanning it so it's no longer paper and it's just digital?
Oh, that's even another nightmare for me. But yeah, I just don't like that part at all. I love to just create.
Well, it's a good thing now we're working on a nice admin team for you that can handle that. God bless Orchid and the crew. Okay, so we did our best to kind of manifest your ideal 2024 for platform. Manifest the most ideal year in 2024 for Sogol Decor. Like, what type of project would you love to land in the next 12 months? What type of client? Like, give us the biggest dream that you have right now for Sogol Decor.
So I have done residential, right? So starting from my own, house projects. And I have done the condo project. I have done a hotel project. I have done a spa project in Washington. I have done, what else? Can't think. Well, actually, growing up, since our parents had different boutiques and galleries, I have always been involved with doing the windows and, the display. Mannequins, yeah, whatever it was, I've done that. I have, what I would love to work on is a restaurant project. I think that would be something I would love to see happening soon, hopefully, maybe even in our neighborhood, because a lot of restaurants are opening up here. And one thing that I would love is a Persian restaurant, and something where I can actually, because my style, I don't even know what my style is. I guess, eclectic, or because, I've been a nomad kind of between Iran, Germany, Washington, and Miami, which is actually a different world. Miami has really nothing to do with any other cities in the United States. So it is definitely a very unique city. So a Persian restaurant that I would actually make it super modern, but with Persian elements.
High end.
Very high end. Very high end. And
our friend David has to make it happen.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would love to work on a project like that where I can bring everything together that I have had experience working on for so many years. And
if you're a Persian restaurateur into hospitality, we need to work together. What a perfect combination that would be to get United Conquer involved, to get the Persian community, especially in South Florida.
Yeah.
But really, Miami deserves to have a top-notch Persian restaurant here.
Yeah, and I would totally work with artists, maybe even in Iran, and bring their works here. I mean, we have so much talent in Iran. It's incredible. And thanks to Instagram, you see a lot of talents in Iran on Instagram. So I think it's a great opportunity if we can work with them and showcase their works and their talents here.
Yeah, I mean, even just the music, I can imagine a DJ Kia in the corner playing some sexy Persian house, DJ Caviar, DJ Moz, DJ Yazda, all of our exclusive entertainment DJs.
That's your specialty.
Amazing music, have some live instruments,
Yeah, Persian instruments.
If no one's going to do it, I think we're going to do it ourselves somehow.
We have to bring a santur somewhere too.
Yeah. Basically just representing the best of our culture in a very modern place in the most incredible city on the planet.
Yeah, and turn it into a Persian fusion concept. And because we have to really, what I want to do here at Platform is to really cultivate different cultures and make them share it with everyone. And it's not just a Persian culture, it's any culture.
Yeah, it's meant to bridge different cultures together and celebrate different cultures.
Yeah, for the next generation. I feel like, in this virtual world we live in, we need more tactile elements that, the new generation kids can actually see, feel, touch, and experience. And that's what I would love to do.
Perfect. Well, Suggs, we did a nice little tour of everything that was from idea to execution of Platform, the initial interest in interior design, and now Solo Decor still being around for a third decade, having created some incredible residential and commercial spaces all around.
And I will very soon have my own private collection of products.
There you go.
So that's my vision for this year.
Yeah.
But now I had the pleasure of being a part of a U.S. delegation where I have been invited by the U.S. By the Italian Trade Agency. So I have been visiting a bunch of different factories and in Italy, and have met some incredible artisans. So I would love to, now I have a big Rolodex of contacts and have created a relationship with a lot of them already. And I would love to produce my own, could be anything that I like. I would like to do it in collaboration with the manufacturers in Italy, or maybe other countries. But right now, Italy is definitely on the forefront because of my experience and knowledge in their industry.
And we
design
got to
industry.
get your signature rose cake out there. We got to
We
get
should do
your
that, yes,
the platform iced tea, the Persian iced tea.
of course, of course.
All beautiful stuff.
I did actually start with the fabric for the hotel project, which was my own design, and Alessandro Bini produced the fabric for me. I literally drew it and I selected the Pantone colors, and they did such an incredible job printing it the way I wanted it and the way I had envisioned it on a sheer fabric and on a cotton fabric. So I have two signature fabrics, I guess, that I have already designed and produced. So I'm looking forward to many more products.
We have a lot on our to-do list for you for Sogol Decor and Platform in 2024 and beyond, but I feel like we can chip away at many of them this year. There's a lot of things that are brewing, and looking forward to Barefoot in the Garden coming up February 19th. Looking forward to really turn this into a cool production house where we can tell a lot of stories here at the Awesome People podcast, which I'm thankful to have this space here. And then your platform on the Go podcast, and you're going to have some great conversations with people.
Yeah, including some of my own clients. I've already talked to a few of them, and they would love to do that with me, which is great. I feel like, that is the best testimonial when you have your own clients. Because, I love to learn from my mistakes, or I love to just, hear them out, because we are here to help each other. So we need to get criticized in order to become better. And we are our own competitors, I always say.
Yeah. Constantly learning, constantly growing.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for going outside your comfort zone.
I know. You actually made it very comfortable for me. I don't know.
Awesome.
Maybe it's these cushion walls, these foam squares that creates a safe environment.
Good, because you could also think it's like a loony house, but like a little crazy house. But I want to hear that our guests are feeling comfortable, and
the temperature wasn't too bad. I was afraid I would be freezing here because you requested to put the AC on.
We wanted to make sure it's nice and warm, and I couldn't have been more happy to have you as the first guest here on Awesome People in person. So thank you so much for your time.
Of course, thank you. Do you know who your second guest will be?
I have a couple people in mind, but I haven't announced it yet, so I don't want to say it here.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm very excited.
But I can tell you this, they're going to be awesome people. On that note,
thank you for considering me as your awesome
for sure. Awesome sister, awesome person.
And you're the awesome brother, for sure.
I love you very much.
You're my favorite one.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for tonight. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you guys, and tune in again next time for another episode of Awesome People, but in person. Much love.